Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We are going to get started in just a few minutes, and I would just love to know who's here. So if you're able to, we're going to use the chat here throughout the session, and I've seen several of you say hello already, but please say hello. We'd love to hear who you are, how you heard about the coaching program, what your role is in your school, and maybe where you're located. Hello from North Dakota. Hi, Carla. Hi, Jose. Hi, Paula. I have a bit of a delay, so I apologize if you've said hello and I haven't seen it yet. Hi, Ben. Wonderful. Thanks so much. It looks like there are a good handful of us here, but being that it is not quite on the hour yet, we'll give people another moment. Jeremy, I'm an instructional coach. This program is perfect for me. Wonderful. It does sound perfect. And I hope you'll enjoy today's session. Feel free to ask us questions throughout, and that goes for everyone. I have my colleague Kristen backstage, who also works on the coaching program, and she's going to come on and talk to you about a portion of this in the meantime. And she is also going to be doing her best to answer questions. So feel free to use the chat like you guys are already doing to ask questions, and know that we have a good amount of time saved for Q&A at the end as well. Oh, and there's Kristen. Wonderful. And then just while we get started, I also wanted to call out that throughout this presentation, I'm going to show you guys a couple of different links. And I also wanted to let you know that each of the links that I'm going to talk about today are in the calendar invite for this session. So if you are looking for them after the session, or if you want to pull them up now, they're all in there. And those links are primarily our program website, our curriculum, and then the link to the Certified Coach Program application. Awesome. Looks like we have some of our certified trainers online. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. All right. So let's see. Are you guys able to see me now? I see myself. Just double checking. Hello, everyone. All right, let's get started. It's 12:01 Pacific time. Thanks for joining us around your lunch hour. And my name's Amanda. For those of you who I haven't met over email, I am on the Google for Education team, and I'm leading our certified coach program. So thanks for joining us for today's info session. Really, the goal is to tell you all about this new program, which we officially launched exactly a week ago. And as I mentioned, I'm going to spend the first 20 or 30 minutes talking, but really want to make sure that you guys get your questions answered. So again, feel free to chat those, or just know that we also have time for FAQs at the end, and we'll be monitoring the chat and answering those live. Okay, let's get started. So again, a little bit more about what we are going to cover today. Where hopefully I'll be preaching to the choir here, but we are going to talk about the importance of coaching and why the roles that so many of you do are so critical, and why we at Google for Education, we're really excited to support those. Then we're going to dig into the details of the Certified Coach Program, what it is, the curriculum that you've hopefully heard about, how to put together a really solid application, and things like that. And then we'll also talk about the benefits to you as coaches. As I hope you've already heard from us, really the main intention of this program is to help both our new and our veteran coaches really hone their practice and feel supported. And in addition to being beneficial for you guys, the coaches, we also hope that this bodes really well for your school districts as well, and the investment they're putting in their coaching programs. And then actually throughout the presentation, but especially at the end, I'll share several really pro tips to help you get started on your journey and off to the races. All right. So before I dive very deeply into the Certified Coach Program, I did just want to take a moment to orient you around where this new program kind of sits within several of the other programs, resources, et cetera, that you may have seen from our team. So on the left-hand side here, hopefully many of you have actually seen our teacher center, but that is really a place where You can come for one-off trainings and get a ton of different resources. Oh, and I got a message here that someone might have lost me. Can you guys ping in the chat if you're still able to hear me? I'll wait a minute to see if those chats come through. Okay, Ty says thumbs up. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Okay, so as I was saying, the Teacher Center is a great spot for folks to go if they're looking for different trainings to help them use Google tools or products in specific ways. Our Teach from Home site is another website that's a curated version of those trainings that we launched just for kind of the journey that we know many of you have been taking on remote learning and wanting to make sure that we surfaced the most relevant resources that were helping with a transition to distance learning. So now in that second and middle section, we know that there are many of you on this call who also are really passionate about developing product expertise and have already gone out and gotten your educator L1 and L2 certifications. So those again are really opportunities for educators who've mastered different tools and resources to want to show their expertise in that area. And then this third bucket, again, I know we have a lot of trainers on this call. Trainers, coaches, and innovators are in this bucket that we call educating and inspiring others. So really, it's an opportunity for you to take that learning that you've accrued personally and share that with teachers at your school, with teachers outside of your school. And again, all of these three programs have a little bit of a different flavor, but are all intended to do that. Great. So now let's talk about coaching. When I start to talk about coaching, one of the most frequently asked questions that I get is, what exactly is an instructional coach? And maybe some of you on the call will chuckle when you hear that because you've experienced it as well. So when we talk about coaches, we're really talking about those educators in school buildings and in school districts who spend the majority of their time working one-on-one with teachers or educators to help them tackle classroom challenges or accomplish classroom goals with technology-based strategies. And so something I did want to clarify is that this specific badge or designation is really intended to be for educators who are able to allocate the majority of their school day consistently meeting one-on-one with teachers. For example, the model that we talk about in the curriculum that really helps to provide a structured way to work one-on-one with teachers will require coaches to be able to meet with teachers multiple times in what we call a coaching cycle. Now, that said, if you're joining us and you're hearing, oh man, spending the majority of time working one-on-one with teachers sounds like maybe it's a stretch given that I also teach a full load of classes during the day, then you are absolutely welcome to check out our curriculum, learn from that, and all of that is open and available. But really the application process and the process of becoming a certified coach is again reserved for those who are meeting that definition. Great. So again, just a couple of stats about why we feel like coaching is so important. And this by no means does it justice, but these are just a couple of our favorites. So the first is really that we know coaching is very, very influential in changing what teachers are doing in the classroom. In other words, impacting their instructional practice. And it's a really effective type of PD in that way. We also did a 3-year pilot program around coaching that we called the Dynamic Learning Project. And I'll talk about that more in a second. But from that pilot, we saw that when there was coaching, there was certainly an increase in the number of classes that were taught with technology. But more than that, that the way that those classes were using technology was very impactful. So by that, we mean that technology was used for things like student communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, agency, all those types of activities that we really hope that technology can fuel. And hopefully this will resonate with many of you, but we know that as schools navigate back to school, distance learning, hybrid learning, we're not sure yet that the role of coaches and that really personalized attention that they're able to give to teachers and to their schools is more important than ever. And so I love this quote from one of our certified coaches, Danielle, on the right, where she talks about, because of the years of coaching that she had in her school already, that when COVID happened, she played a crucial role in helping her teachers pivot, but also that her teachers really felt empowered to benefit from the toolkit they'd already had accumulated in order to cope with so much change. And if you'd like to nerd out on a little bit of data around why coaching was particularly helpful during COVID, I will send out this link after the presentation. It's here at the bottom. But Digital Promise is a research institution that we have partnered with, and they published excellent an excellent article on why, particularly during COVID, coaches had such a great impact. Okay, so again, hopefully you guys, many of you being coaches, understand all of what I just said. And maybe you're feeling like, but yes, I would really love some more support. And so really, again, the goal of this program is to recognize that both new and veteran coaches it's often pretty hard for them to find very specific professional development that is around coaching and how to deepen coaching practice and expertise. And so over the last 3 years with this dynamic learning project pilot, really what we were trying to do was test all of the things that you now see in the certified coach program and make sure that they would in fact be very beneficial. And we were really lucky that the pilot went well and provided a very strong foundation that you now see manifested in the certified coach program. And I love this quote from one of the principals that we worked with named Tim, because he really talked about how in his school, as a result of coaching, teachers weren't just thinking about, oh, how do I use technology in my lesson? But really, how do I enhance everything that I'm doing with my students in the classroom using technology? In other words, technology was just the means to accomplish the goal, not just something they felt like they needed to be using for the sake of using technology. Wonderful. So I see that some of you on this call have already even jumped in and started our curriculum. So I might be telling you things you already know here, but did want to just spend a minute telling you a little bit more about what exactly we mean by the Certified Coach Program. So really the goal, as I've mentioned, is to empower instructional coaches to drive impactful or effective technology use in their schools and their districts. And the two primary resources are through a structured year-long curriculum, which I'll talk more about in a moment. And that curriculum really hinges around a research-based 5-step coaching model. And that model is really the foundation for how you will provide very structured interactions and how you work one-on-one with your teachers to make sure that you're identifying a challenge or a goal that they want to address, and then following a specific sequence of steps that helps both you and the teacher implement that solution and reflect on how things went. And again, I always like to include here our definition of exactly the types of actions that coaches take, which again continues to be around working one-on-one with teachers to help them tackle classroom challenges or goals with technology-oriented strategies. And I'll just touch quickly here on one FAQ that we've heard from some of our our other info sessions rather. And some people have asked, well, I'm definitely an instructional technology coach, but in every interaction with my teachers, I don't use technology. For example, if I'm working with a teacher who has traditionally been more reluctant to technology, I might start with something that's not technology-based to build that relationship with my teacher and then work my way up. And they ask, is this program still right for me? And to that, I would say absolutely. When you start diving into our curriculum, you'll see that we talk about the diffusion of innovation curve and how some teachers are going to be your early adopters, go-getters, ready to jump in and try new technology-based things from the start. Whereas others, you'll really need to focus on building a foundational relationship with them, meeting them where they are, and then hopefully working them to a point where they can see the power of technology and how that can help their various challenges and goals. But don't feel like in every interaction that you have with a teacher for this program that you have to be using technology. And then the other thing I just wanted to call out while we're on this slide is that the curriculum does have the ISTE seal of alignment. So for those of you who work in schools and districts that follow the different ISTE standards, especially the coaching standards, please feel free to mention that as well. Okay. So, what makes the program so effective? Let's talk a little bit more about the curriculum and the model that I just mentioned. And before I jump in, I did just want to spend a minute on Coach Rachel here on the right, her quote, because I really think it speaks to the ethos of what we hope these resources will provide. So, she said that the coaching model really lends itself to rich and meaningful experiences between teachers and their coach. And again, that this is intended to be something that provides an individualized, challenge based, and non evaluative approach. And really, that this is all about helping teachers gain the confidence and the skills they need to step out of their comfort zone and try something new. So, with that, the tailored curriculum has the following sections that you see here on the slide. We talk about that challenge-based model, how to build a strong coaching, what we call coaching team and culture. So for example, there we talk about the importance of having your administrators support your coaching program, your go-getter teachers supporting your coaching program, and we'll articulate specific strategies for how you can bring those types of stakeholders along. We also, again, talk about really what's at the crux of coaching, right? Which is all about building effective coach and teacher relationships with all sorts of teachers in your building. There, we also talk about organizing your day as a coach. For those of you who have been doing this for a while, I'm sure you feel like you are being pulled in many different directions, especially now. And so managing time, thinking about how to set up what we call coaching rosters for who you're working with during specific periods of time, and organizing your coaching into something that we call cycles is also something that you'll find there. And then moving on, the last couple of sections are around really taking the strategies that you have already for coaching and, as we call, leveling them up. And then the last section is about celebrating and advancing your success. So throughout the curriculum, we'll encourage you to do things like survey your teachers to measure impact, to collect what we call bright spots, which are essentially success stories that you have. And that all kind of gets bundled in that last chapter so that you can really package that up and share the impact of coaching more broadly. And then the last part is an optional book study based on a book called Courageous Adventures. And in our pilot program, we saw that our coaches really enjoyed having a companion resource to the curriculum that reinforced several of those key concepts. So this book was selected to do that. And we also will have some different ways that for those who are going through the curriculum in similar timeframes, that they can exchange some thoughts on that as well. And again, as I mentioned, the curriculum is intended to be year long. So while you can certainly sit down and do it in approximately a 20-hour or so sitting, what we really recommend is taking your time going through it, because the lessons that you find at the beginning, so those sections 1, 2, and 3, are those that we think would be most helpful for you to do over the summer and sort of before the school year begins. Whereas the lessons that you see in the middle are sort of intended to be kind of that mid-year check-in of how is coaching going, how can I iterate on my approach, so on and so forth. And then, of course, as the Celebrating and Advances Success title at the end there intonates, those lessons at the end are intended to kind of reflect the mentality that a coach may need to be in towards the end of the school year. So here's a bit.ly link at the bottom. For those of you who haven't checked it out, I definitely encourage you to open the curriculum and just get started. That is really the best way to get on your way to becoming certified. And I see here a question from Robbie that just came in about him having a specific coaching model that he uses in his school, and whether this is something that can also be used in addition to the coach certificate. So I would need to look a little bit more into Diane Sweeney's model in particular. We do want you to be using our 5-step coaching model, which basically, I'm actually going to review that on the next slide, entails going through identifying a specific classroom challenge or goal with a teacher, investigating a solution with them, a series of solutions, then selecting one of them, implementing and reflecting that. So that's what we mean when we say our coaching model. Now, there are many other things that can be layered on top of that, but we do really want to see you using the 5-step coaching model. So if that's something you feel like you can accomplish in the context of what you're already doing, then yes. If not, then feel free to send us an email. In our website at the very bottom, there's a way to contact us, and we can talk more about the specific models as well. I will also call out that in these first sections of the curriculum, it does talk quite a bit about the model too. So since that was a very brief explanation, if you want to learn more about the model, feel free to click in there and you can check out more. Great. So hopefully now that you've gotten a little bit of a preview for the curriculum and the model, the next most commonly asked question we get is, what are the types of things that coaches work on in their schools using these resources? And as you can see here from this list on the right, it's quite a wide gamut of things, but we've seen that it helps with things like planning and prep, assessment. That's been an especially popular one now as teachers try to figure out how to do assessments and differentiated assessments online, differentiation for students, collaboration, content support. Family and community engagement has also been a really popular one lately, especially as our parents and guardians are spending an ever increasing amount of time with their students and really trying to help them learn at home. Creativity and innovation, classroom management, including that of virtual classes, how to take attendance using Google Forms, all sorts of stuff. So really the point here on the left is that coaches will be prepared to address a diversity of different classroom goals and challenges, regardless of whether that classroom is in person, online, or both. Okay, and here's that link to the curriculum again. I will just pull this up for a moment to show you that the curriculum is about 50 modules long and again takes about 15 to 20 hours over the course of the school year. Okay, and I did see some questions starting to roll in about the certification requirements. I think it was Dottie who asked, what certificates are required to do coaching? So our Google Educator L1 and L2 certifications are what we would call a prerequisite for this coaching program, as well as our innovator and our trainer programs. So if you don't already have your current L1 and L2 certifications, we would ask that you would do that before submitting your coaching application. Now, those two certificates do have a small exam fee associated with them, but everything that you see up here, numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, are free. In other words, the curriculum is already open and available to you, and there's no fee associated with that. When you finish the curriculum, you'll see that you're prompted to take a coach skills assessment. I think I saw some folks even commenting already that they've started the curriculum and have seen the assessment. So that coach skills assessment is to really just help you demonstrate your mastery of the key concepts that are in the curriculum. Then the second thing that you would want to do in order to get certified is start putting together what we've called your coaching portfolio. And there is, in fact, a module in the curriculum that goes through how to put your portfolio together in great detail and has a lot of expert tips and tricks. That module is in that section called Celebrating and Advancing Successes, and it's called Applying for the Coach Curriculum. So it happens at the very end to help you make sure you're ready. But just to give you a little bit of preview, basically what we ask for is a short video where you would articulate how you worked with a specific teacher in order to go ahead and follow that 5-step model. So we'd love to hear the story. For example, if I was a coach, say, "Hi, I'm Coach Amanda. I worked with teacher XYZ," and then start from there and kind of just, again, illustrate or narrate to us how you worked with a teacher. Then the 3 artifacts, again, covered in much more detail in the curriculum. But essentially, this is an opportunity for you to share with us one of those bright spot success stories with us about how you worked with a teacher, an area where you used a data-based insight to really guide your coaching, and then also something where we can see how you've organized how you're working with teachers in terms of a roster or sort of a coaching cycle. And you'll see here that underneath that number 2 on this slide, I said 2+ coaching cycles. And I put that there because one of the questions that we've gotten is, I'd like to apply as soon as possible. I'm really excited about this. What is the soonest that I really could get myself ready to apply? And in the curriculum, we cover this concept of having coaching cycles, which essentially means that you should pick a roster of teachers that you work with for a number of weeks. Typically, we recommend around 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the size of the school and the different scenarios and your caseload. But let's say on average, 6 to 8 weeks. And so it would really take at least 2 of those coaching cycles for you to be coaching and putting all of this into practice for you to have a really comprehensive portfolio. And what I also like to mention at this point is that while we would love for you to get started with the curriculum today, start digging in, there's a whole bunch of stuff for you to add to your summer PD list, specifically in the curriculum, so you can hit this school year running, that there is also no cap to the number of people that will be accepted to the Certified Coach program, and the applications are open on a rolling basis. So don't feel like if you need to rush through it in order to meet some deadline. I would much rather you guys feel like you can take your time and really, take the time you need to synthesize the concepts and put them into practice rather than rush to apply. So definitely trying to take the pressure off there. And then the third piece of the application here is the letter of reference from an administrator. And this should be from someone like a building or a district leader that's familiar with your coaching work and can talk specifically to how you've put the 5-step model and the other Google certified coach lessons and resources into practice in your school. So we've also gotten some questions here around, who exactly that administrator should be and what specific period of time you'd want to be working with them. And it really can vary, but let's say the most common scenario is probably that you're someone that gets started with this curriculum right now over the summer. You put it into practice for this next school year. After those 2 or more coaching cycles would be a great time to really go ahead and ask for that letter of reference from your administrator. And again, we realize that coaching programs take many different structures in schools. So it does just need to be someone who's familiar with your coaching work. It doesn't have to be, in particular, a building or a district leader. It can really be any one of those people. And if you work with multiple people who support your coaching program, feel free to pick the one of those who you think could speak the best to your impact. And then the application is live on our website now. So basically, you just put all of that together in a Google form. It is already on our website. So if you want to click on our website and check out the curriculum so that you can see that and just kind of get a sense for what you're working towards, you're welcome to do that. We've also gotten some questions around, what happens if I submit an application and what happens after that. So we take about four weeks or so to review. Please do give us some time. We are so grateful for the interest, but might need a little bit of time to review. And we will give you feedback if there are specific areas of your application that we felt like weren't quite strong enough to get certified, but could, with some improvement, really help you get there. So know that you will get some feedback from our team if needed as well. Great. I see a couple of questions coming through about certification. I'm just trying to make sure I answer them as much as possible while I'm here. I see a question from our friends at Fry Technology. Hello, is it possible to go through the curriculum without L2 and L1 and L2, but just not to apply for certification? Good question. So you can certainly access the curriculum at any time, including before or after you do your L1 and L2 certification. But by the time you're going ahead and submitting that Google form, we would ask for that L1 and L2 certification to be completed and current. And really the idea there is that L1 and L2 is providing that foundational how to use Google products and tools knowledge that really the coaching is intended to build upon. And then in terms of the platform, it's actually hosted on the same platform within our curriculum. So it is not ProctorU. Okay, and then again, as I mentioned, this application is also linked from our main website, which you can find from g.co/teachercenter. But if you're like me and you love a good bit.ly link that you can just jot down, here is the one for the coach application. So bit.ly/coach-apply. All right. So I'm nearing the end of the me speaking at you portion of this, but I did, as I promised you in the beginning, want to leave you with a couple of tips that we've accrued from our pilot folks, as well as the couple of info sessions that came before you. So tips for preparing a strong application. Again, we just talked about L1 and L2 certification. Didn't want anyone to be surprised that is part of the coach application. Again, completing the modules in the curriculum, we will check to make sure that you have in fact taken the curriculum, not just skipped ahead to the exam. So please make sure that you are in fact going through each of those modules. And what you'll see is that we've also included what we call make it stick, basically quiz-like questions at the bottom of each module that are really intended to help you make sure that you are getting the key concepts in each module before you go all the way through all 50 and reach that very final exam at the end. Speaking of the final exam, as I mentioned, take the coach skills assessment when you feel like you've mastered all the content and have really put that into practice. You can jump back and forth between the modules. So if you're later on and you think, oh, I want to revisit something that I learned at the very beginning, you can do that. Really, we tried our best to make that feel like a very strong and responsive companion resource to you with the assessment at the very end. So that was a lot about the curriculum and things like that. On the right-hand side, again, are some different tips around how to think about that portfolio piece. So I mentioned this, but please do try to be as specific as possible in your video when you're talking about how you use the 5-step model to help a teacher. We'd really love to hear, again, a specific example of a teacher rather than you talk in broader strokes, so we can really get a picture through your words of how things look. Same thing with the coach artifacts, again, covered in great detail in the curriculum, but throughout the curriculum, we will be encouraging you to collect bright spot success stories from your teachers, build rapport with your teachers, and then also use data that you and your district and your schools collect to assess coaching impact and opportunities for continuous improvement. So the intention there is just to show us through those artifacts that you've been able to really put that into practice. And again, as I mentioned, that letter of recommendation from a building or a district leader. Okay. So benefits for certified coaches. For some of you who are trainers, this may look a little bit familiar. There are a couple of key things I wanted to call out here. So the first is that this is a brand new badge that we are launching in recognition of this new certified coach program. And the badge was actually on my first slide. I'm not sure if you guys noticed it, but it's kind of a speech bubble looking thing to try to represent the conversations and the personalized nature that a coach has with those teachers. So sort of that one-on-one support. You will also become a member of our active global coaching community. So as some of you who are, I see maybe innovators or trainers already may be benefiting from, we really do try to cultivate a very coaching specific community here for those who want to share best practices, get help, things like that. We've heard that, for example, coaching can be somewhat of an isolating role at times, being that you are really there for your teachers and you're constantly being called upon to help them, but also that coaches really want their own community to call upon for when they want that extra kind of hands-on help, support, folks who understand what their day-to-day looks like. And as I mentioned, we already have a 140 sized cohort of our pilot participant folks who are there and ready to help and just welcome you into that. We also launched coaching as a new expert type in the Google for Education directory, so you will become visible upon getting certified as a coaching expert there. And again, that can be added to your existing credentials if you have some other ones. And we will also do a number of different professional development events that are designed specifically to help coaches hone their practice on an ongoing level. And we've already started to poll our pilot participants around what particular trainings, events, conversations they'd like to see us help host. And we've got a really amazing roster of things set up for this next coming school year. And then similar to things like this info session, there are often different first look opportunities, updates, et cetera, that come from our different Google for Education teams, and we will make sure that our coaches kind of always get that heads up, as well as an opportunity to learn more. We super appreciate that you guys have taken the time to go ahead and become certified. So we want to give that back to you in as many ways as possible. And I should add here that if you guys have other ideas around how you can make this certified coach community really blossom, again, it is a newer program and we'd like to make this as meaningful for you as possible. So this is always kind of a two-way street in terms of us looking for additional ways that we can really help this support your practice. Speaking of support your practice, the one other thing that we have heard is that in addition to the curriculum and the model and all of the online and virtual resources that we're able to provide, that sometimes coaches just want help from someone who's been in their shoes and especially in the pre-COVID days, can also physically be there for them. So what we've done is partnered with these different professional development organizations that you see here on the screen. And each of these PD partners, as we call them, are really experts in coaching and have a staff of folks that we call mentors, who are almost like super coaches. But really, those folks are there to help the coaches and their coaching teams, so including the administrators, to get additional hands-on support to help them do things like make sure coaching is aligned with their goals, overcome, tough things related to maybe technology access and adoption in their schools, to help measure impact, to help get you through the curriculum, prepare a super strong application. And they, again, are experts in our model and our curriculum as well. So this is certainly not required in order to become certified, but an extra set of hands and help that we wanted to make sure you all knew was available and could explore further if that sounds helpful to you. So what I would recommend if you're interested in learning more about each of these organizations and how these recommended coaching partners can help, this link down here is our main certified coach program website. And that has a ton more information about them as well. Great. And then I mentioned at the beginning that, of course, we want our coaches to immensely benefit from this program. We also want the wider school community and district communities to really be excited about this. So I would be remiss if I didn't credit you amazing coaches with having impact beyond honing your own practice, but also on the teacher community. For example, in our pilot, we saw that many of our teachers reported feeling much less stressed and much happier about teaching after they were coached. From a student perspective, as I mentioned, really the goal of this program at the end of the day is to drive impactful technology use, effective technology use. So we were thrilled and hope to continue to see that this coaching program is really leading to increased technology use, fueling better student engagement, development of 21st century skills, and more. And then this last piece here around kind of school culture is really intended just to demonstrate that even for those teachers who weren't directly coached, we saw that throughout the entire school, there was this culture of being more innovative and collaborative that came about because of coaching. And in that way, coaching really had this ripple effect of relationships beyond just the people that were directly touched by coaching. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about maintaining certification. So now we're operating in a world where you've gone through the curriculum, you've taken your test, you've put together your portfolio, you've submitted your application, and you've gotten a very exciting email back from our team that says, congratulations, you are now a certified coach. So the following school year, after you become certified, we will look to make sure basically that you are continuing to put all of this into practice and coach. So specifically, what we would love to see is that you continue using the 5-step coaching model to guide your one-on-one interactions with teachers. And again, help provide that structure that allows you to be really effective in supporting them. And also that you're logging using our EDU activity app at least 100 hours of one-on-one coaching per school year. And so if you're a coach who's spending the majority of your time coaching during the school day, 100 hours is something like 4 to 5 or so hours of a week on an average school year calendar. So I hope that feels pretty reasonable. But again, it's also our way of wanting to make sure that this designation continues to really be for those folks who are actively coaching in their schools. And then I did notice several of you are trainers here and maybe wondering, well, I'm already logging activities in the EDU activity app. What's the difference between what I log for trainer and what I log for coaches? And feel free to write us an email if you want to talk more about this. We're happy to explain more. But the summary is essentially that what you're doing for your trainer certification shouldn't change. You should continue to please log 12 or more training events throughout the year. And for coaches, you would see this new area that we just launched in the EDU activity app along with the coaching program, where you would be able to track your one-on-one coaching hours. And so here is that new area of the app that I just mentioned. We tried to make it as clear as possible that this really is the section where you should be tracking activities that specifically pertain to you working with an individual teacher using the model. And then here's what it would look at like over time. So don't feel like every single time you meet with a teacher, you need to be in that app. That is certainly not our intention to add burden, as we know you are all very incredibly busy already. But you can, for example, bulk upload your hours over time. And again, once you are certified, we'll send you a lot more information about the EDU activity app, how to use it, etc. But we did just want to give you a little bit of a preview of what's needed to maintain your certification. So with that, I will stay here on this last slide while I answer questions, but I did just want to summarize kind of the best way to get started. So as I've said a couple of times, I would really encourage you to jump into the curriculum and get started. I'm so excited to see in the chat those of you who have already done this. There are the first 3 sections in particular are the ones that we most recommend completing over the summer so that you really can hit the ground running in this coming school year. Then, of course, the next step would be to continue on with the curriculum and actually putting that model into practice as we return to school. Again, no matter what that school situation may look like, we understand that coaching may very well be virtual for many of us for a while. And the third and fourth piece here are really, again, just to complete and stick with this throughout the school year and then apply, again, no sooner than you've really completed those 2 coaching cycles or more. So if you're in North America or the US and you're starting it around an August, September timeframe, really the soonest that you probably want to go ahead and submit your application is around December or so. But again, don't feel like you also have to be rushed to do that in December. And then here, the links at the bottom are, again, our website as well as the email address where you can reach us if you have any other questions. All right, so I see a couple of questions coming in around some things around the 100-hour requirement. So just to clarify, we would want to see those 100 hours done in using our model. So for those of you who have been coaching for a while, you have certainly had more than 100 hours in the past. When you are maintaining your certification, we would just want to make sure that you continue to use our model and actually log those particular hours. All right, I'll wait to see if there are any other questions coming through the chat. Okay, I see a question here from earlier around some of the differences between this program, the trainer program, the innovator program. And I feel really lucky to be on a team that has multiple programs, again, that are all in that bucket that I talked about the beginning around really wanting to be for educators who want to share their expertise with others. And I think the difference is really in how you want to share that expertise. So for our trainer community, we've typically seen that the educators who benefit most from that content, as well as embody the persona, if you will, of a most typical trainer, although they are very different and diverse, are those who are working typically in a group professional development setting. So presenting to more of like an assembly style, or maybe a come in for a coffee and learn something style session. And also doing that based on a specific product or tool. Now, where the coaching model difference, the coaching program rather differs, is that we would really expect the folks who are having the coach designation to be, again, working one-on-one with teachers using our model on a regular basis. Now, that said, we also have folks who are both trainers and are doing that group-oriented professional development, but are an instructional coach in their schools. And that's wonderful. We certainly welcome those folks to have both the trainer and the coach designation. They are not exclusive of each other, but the types of content will be geared again towards those different things. And then for innovators, I saw several of you know that the VIA, Virtual Innovator Academy, for this year is currently open and accepting applications through the end of July. And that is really if you are an educator who has a specific, big, ambitious problem in education that you want to tackle using a really innovative solution. So in order to apply for the innovator program, you would want to have a specific idea in mind that you would apply and then work on throughout the Innovator Academy. I see a couple more questions here about the 100 hours that I'll do my best to address. In terms of counting hours in the past, you wouldn't be able to count coaching hours in the past since you would not have been using the 5-step model to guide those coaching interactions, but you are welcome to count any coaching hours where you are, again, using our model and our curriculum in practice. And these 100 hours definitely do not have to be from the same single teacher or from the same school. It would just be the aggregate amount of time that you as a single coach are spending with your teachers. I see another good question coming in here. Can a coaching cycle with 2 teachers at one time work within the guidelines of this program? So in our curriculum, you'll see we go much more deep into defining a coaching cycle. Really what we mean when we say a coaching cycle is that we'd love for you to think about a 6 to 8-ish week period of time where you are going to go out and select a number of teachers that you are going to focus on working with. And we call that your coaching roster. Typically, again, very much depends on the school and the district size and other dynamics, but on average, we see that being somewhere between 10 and 12 teachers. And the reason we recommend that type of approach is because the expectation is that you would be meeting with those 10 to 12 teachers multiple times throughout the cycle to identify the specific challenge that they want to tackle or the goal they want to achieve, to then select the specific intervention or strategy that they're going to test, to support them in implementing it, and then to reflect on how that's going. So that, again, is multiple meetings with each of those 10 to 12 teachers, which will keep you pretty busy throughout the course of those 6 to 8 weeks. I hope that helps. I see here some questions coming in now around different data collection. So great question. For the portfolio requirement, there isn't any specific data type that we ask for because we really want to be respectful of how your school is comfortable measuring and collecting data. But we have a bunch of best practices that we sort of templatized for you. And by that, I mean that in our pilot, what we did was a very intensive research study where we surveyed the whole school at the beginning of the school year and the whole school at the end of the school year. And through those surveys, we were able to really understand sort of the pre and the post coaching impact for that school year. So what we've done now in the curriculum is made those surveys available via Google Forms and made all of the questions open source so that hopefully you will be able to partner with your school leader or with your district leader to understand, hopefully all, but what of those types of survey questions would be most beneficial for you and actually disseminate that for yourselves. So that, again, that's just one example of one of the data-based kind of survey tools that we provide in the curriculum. I see a good question here from Katrina, and I'm so sorry I did not mention this at the beginning. So right now, the content is only available in English as we just launched last week. We do hope to localize shortly, and we'll certainly keep you apprised. But we would love for anyone who is comfortable working in English to please take advantage of this. So again, English only for now, but open to a global audience. I see a good question here from Barbara about what is the cost of working with the partners. So it varies depending on the partner. And from our webpage, you can see, you can click into their specific offerings and learn more. And the cost really depends on things like exactly how many mentorship hours for the coaches would you like, or kind of what other types of tools you may want to get in addition. Since they are all professional development experts, there are a number of different packages, if you will, and many of them can also be customized to your specific organization. What we did make sure, though, was that every single partner is an expert in our curriculum, in our model, and we work with them very closely to make sure, again, that they can really provide a very high quality of coaching support to you. So apologies for the lack of specificity, but they can tell you a lot more, and know that there are multiple options available to you. All right, we have about 10 minutes, and I see the questions slowing down. So I will stay on here and start to talk slowly, and in case there's any other questions coming through. While I wait for that, I will just make one more plug for you guys to check out the links in your calendar invite or the web page listed here. And please jump in and get started with the curriculum if you're excited. We would really, really love to see you guys put this into practice for this next coming school year. Okay, I see a new question came in here. Yes, for the trainers. So for those trainers who don't currently have L1 and L2 exams current, we will need those two in order to become a certified coach. So if you don't currently have L1 and L2 done or current, if it's expired, we would ask that you would renew that before applying to become a certified coach. And again, really the rationale there is because those exams change very frequently. We actually just completed another refresh, and it's intended to reflect the most recent kind of Google tools and resources available. For example, there's Google Meet in there now, which has become a really popular tool over the last many months due to COVID. And we really want to make sure that you've got the latest there so that you can apply that to your coaching knowledge as well. All right, and I see some enthusiasm coming through from Mike and Butch. Thank you so much. I love that you've already gone through the curriculum super user, and that you've passed the exam. So hopefully that's inspirational. I think I also saw a question in the chat before around maybe how many attempts you get at the exam. So technically it is 3 attempts, and you will get sort of feedback as you go through that. But as I mentioned, try to use those make it stick quiz questions at the bottom of each module to help you prepare for that coach skills assessment or final exam, if you will. And feel free to also reconsult different areas of the curriculum before you take the exam if you want to refresh yourself on a couple of key concepts that were maybe, I don't know, a little bit dense, or just, you just want a refresher. You can move back and forth throughout the curriculum. Wonderful. Okay, I don't see any new questions, so I am going to start to wrap us up. Again, please know we are here to support you in doing this. We are so excited for those, for you guys to get started, and so grateful for those of you who joined us today. So please start the curriculum. Email us if you have questions, and we will see you guys soon. Oh, and I did see one question from Mike. Excellent question coming in. When would be a good time to start applying? So what I would recommend is getting at least 2 6 to 8 week coaching cycles where you're actually putting this model into practice under your belt before you apply. So if your school year is starting around September, that would mean in the later December timeframe would probably be the soonest that you could really put together that portfolio and apply. And I would say, if you guys want to kind of see this for yourself, if you're a visual person like I am, feel free to click on the actual curriculum and the actual application and the website, and you can see how we'll collect the information just so that you can get that as well. And I see a couple questions about where do we get the presentation. So I am going to send this out after our last info session on July 10. I will email this group. In the meantime, all of the links for the webpage, the curriculum, the application are in the calendar invite that I added you guys to for today. So you should be able to see that. And then really our program webpage, which you could Google for Education Certified Coach Program, has all of the information you need to get started. Wonderful. Thank you so much to this group. I'm so grateful for you guys. I hope to see you in the curriculum and as certified coaches. And please do spread the word for others in your PLN that you think would be interested in as well. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.